January 12th, 2026. Meeting is now called to order, and we'll have roll call.
President Ragland, we have a full board present.
Thank you. And as custom, we'll stand for pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now have good news by Jason Wickenberg.
Thank you very much, President Ragland, Superintendent Hoover, members of the board. Let's take a dive into this week's good news since we spoke last. Jump ahead a second here. Let me go back just a bit. Well, you may have seen it quickly, so I'll go through that. I think Amy's just going to go back manually and do this. We've had 2 episodes of What's Happening with Dr. Hoover since we spoke last. We had a special holiday edition that has done very, very well. I think it reached over 55,000 people the last time I checked on that. We then, which was just really a sweet way to kick off the holidays as far as having students represented for Dr. Hoover to talk to first graders. So that was really neat. And so then we also did a good news, or also did a What's Happening with Hoover episode. Still not working. Recently on our secretaries, I'm going to try to do this by memory. I don't know if I can do that. On our secretaries, we had our PD day on Monday. Our school secretaries are so much the lifeblood of what goes on in the front office, and you know, that first person people see and talk to, and they're so connected really absolutely to everyone. So we wanted to have a chance to feature them. We got to hear from several of them, and Dr. Hoover even got to connect and speak with the secretary at Washington that she has a long history with, all the way back to their school days at Washington. So that was very neat. Evansville Retired Teachers Association had a holiday luncheon back in December since we spoke as well. Dr. Hoover got to be a special guest at that. But you know, this is a very active organization. I know President Ragland, she's pictured as well there. Oak Hill Choir members were there, or McCutcheonville Choir members were there. And so that is an organization that, you know, it's great for them to come together, share stories, visit with one another, but they're also very active in providing support when they are needed. And so really a kudos to those groups as well, and those individuals that make up the Retired Teachers Association. Teddy Bear Toss at Harrison High School. This is something they've done for a while, and the students really get into this. They're benefiting 911 Gives Hope. This was a game, as you can see, with the Skinners, with North and Harrison, but they make it a lot of fun, and it's always great to see our students doing what they can to help local causes, and this is certainly a great example of that, and blending that just with the fun spirit of athletics. Congrats to one of our club sports. You may not know that we have this, but Wrights High School's bowling team won their sectional. So congratulations to these very talented athletes. Again, it's not a sanctioned sport with IHSAA for us, but it is a club sport. And I can promise you these student athletes are just as dedicated as anyone, and certainly very talented. So we're proud of them. Congratulations to North High School. We just found out they were named by the College Board to the Advanced Placement School Honor Roll. So as you can see, this is factored in the wording there, the number of seniors, 46% at North, who took at least one AP exam. 30% of their seniors scored a 3 or higher, which is no small task. And 8% of their seniors took 5 or more AP exams. That is simply incredible and shows their dedication. So I'm really proud of everyone at North for getting this distinction. Last thing I wanted to lift, you know, there's been so much coverage, of course, with the football team that plays up in Bloomington. IU has had a phenomenal season. We could go on and on about that. Certainly, we won't. But love these two pictures, or these pictures here, because as you can see, we have a graduate of Bosse High School and a graduate of Central High School who are in the Marching 100 at IU. So what a great experience on any year, during any year, but especially this year. That picture of the Bosse alumni who is in front of the Rose Bowl is just fantastic. But obviously these two students are having a great experience. It all started here with their fine arts experience at the EVSC, and it has continued right on to Pasadena and then in Atlanta, and we'll be heading obviously to Miami.
Amen.
Yes, absolutely. I didn't hear Michelle Williams cheer. A little depressed, let's be easy on her. And that, President Ragland, is good news.
Thank you very much. We're now ready to come up with public comments, so you're going to take it.
I'll take care of that since Mr. Shoulders is on the screen but not sitting with us in person. So as Mr. Shoulders always says, when we have somebody who's normally with us, and tonight it is Mr. Larry Samples again, he doesn't need, needs no introduction and doesn't need the expectations as well. So Larry, if you would please step to the mic.
Thank you. I want to talk about a couple of North seniors. They had a good volleyball season and a football season. But first, I mentioned Central High School. On Wednesday, they're going to their girls will host Vincennes Lincoln. They're going to honor their seniors. And as we all know, one of the outstanding seniors in the state of Indiana is the Central, Maddie Shirley. So they would like to have a full house at Central on Wednesday night, girls basketball. At the end of the fall sports season, the Courier announces an all-metro team for each sport. All-metro for them is City Schools plus Castle. Then they name a player of the year, they name a coach of the year. In football for North High School, they had an outstanding season. First-year coach Zach Nero, 8 wins. Best season for them since 2007. Most wins by a first-year coach at North ever. They had a strong season, but unfortunately Memorial had a better season, so the Memorial coach was named Coach of the Year, and Memorial won the conference. Outstanding player of the year, though, was Ricky White Jr. out of North. Apparently he's small, but he's a powerful linebacker. Team leader. Coach Nero said the best player he's ever coached. Coach Nero says he may be undersized, but he's not undervalued. In volleyball, North program 28-3, outstanding season. Coach Ashley Kazmarski, her maiden name is King. She played volleyball at USI. Been the coach there for a few years. Had a great season. Unfortunately, they ran into a strong Castle team. So they lost the conference match to Castle. They lost the sectional to Castle, but North still had an outstanding season in volleyball. Player of the year, Kenley Barnard from North, 6'1" senior. Can play all, very versatile, can play all 6 positions. When she's in the back row, she's a setter. When she rotates to the front row, she becomes a hitter. Division I volleyball player will play at Robert Morris next year. So a lot of good news out of North High School.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, it is now time for the organization of the Board of School Trustees, the election of president, vice president, and secretary for the year of 2026. And we now open the floor for a slate or election of officers.
President Reagan, I'd like to nominate the slate of officers as Mike Duckworth as the president, Melissa Moore, vice president, and Amy DeFries as the secretary.
A nomination and second. Are there any other nominations for the floor? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. And that passes. So congratulations to President Duckworth.
Well, as always, we've got something to do. Karen, if you'll step up here, please. In a year when there's contract negotiations and hiring a new superintendent and everything going on, you've handled the ship quite well. And I don't think that anyone could have stepped into those shoes with all the interviews and all the budgets and everything that we've had to go through and done as good a job as you've done. And we all appreciate everything that you've done, and we want to present you with this this plaque commemorating your years as president of the board. Congratulations.
a nice group picture to put on.
Absolutely, absolutely.
If you don't mind joining,
Like us.
maybe about right there, that'd be perfect.
I'll stand behind Doug. You're a little taller than I am.
No, I don't have to.
Amy, I might have you and Mike switch places. That way, you're here or next to one of
There
them.
we go, there we go. Cover up Kiefer.
There's Terry, there he is.
All right, here we go. Big smiles. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah, doing well, thanks.
I kind of wanted to say just a few words here, and I'm a note taker, so excuse me. But I just want to, thank my board for the opportunity to be able to serve. And I just want to say that, sometimes don't know the history or the internals that go on behind the scene. And, the last 4 years have been kind of rough, but we've been able to weather the storm. We've been able to compromise and come to a consensus. But we had, illnesses. Chris has suffered. Terry, we've had loss of spouses. We have loss of parents. And so, navigating through all that is sometimes not always easy, but we've been able to, be here and stand for each other. And something that I think kind of somewhat unique is our board veterans probably has 100 years of seniority in terms of board work. And, and our others, about 11 years together. So, that's 111, good number. And, but I truly appreciate because going also in closing that this year, last year was mandated by our General Assembly that, board members declare a candidate, a party. And we want, we have, as a majority, have felt that our duty is to the children, and there's not politics in, serving our kids. And, so it was amazing to, the statement of taking the high moral road. Well, if it's the high road morally for our kids, that's what we want to do. So, I just want to, say that and thank, because our business is kid business, and we appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you.
Well, next on the agenda is the consideration to approve the organizational resolution. And I take it that's for the corporation officers. You have that list. Is it the list, the finance?
No, it's just
There are
organizational resolution.
several items, on the, resolution that has the.
Your attorney and other matters.
Okay, I don't have that in front of me, I'm sorry.
Roundabout way, yes.
Okay, I can go off of that, I believe.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. This resolution states, whereas the Evansville-Vandenberg Board of School Trustees shall designate a day, place, and time for regular meetings, which shall be held at least once every month, and whereas the Evansville-Vandenberg Board of School Trustees shall adopt existing bylaws and policies for its own operation and for operations conducted through the corporation, and whereas the Evansville-Vandenberg Board of School Trustees shall authorize the president of the board to appoint individual board members to any necessary committees or as representative to various organizations. And whereas the Evansville-Vandenberg School Board of Trustees shall appoint a legal counsel, and whereas the Evansville-Vandenberg School Board of Trustees shall appoint a board member as the legislative liaison to the Indiana State Indiana School Board Association. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Board of School Trustees designates regular meetings will be held on Monday evenings beginning at 5:30 p.m. Central Time in the boardroom of the EVSC Administration Building on the specific dates previously approved by this board. Number 2, adopts existing bylaws and policies for its own operation and for operations conducted through the corporation as published on the EVSC website. Authorize the president of the board to appoint individual board members to any necessary committees or as representatives to various organizations. Appoint Patrick A. Shoulders of the law firm Senior Stamen, Weitzel and Shoulders as our legal counsel. Appoint a board member to serve as legislative liaison to the Indiana School Board Association. And appoints Dr. Carl Underwood as treasurer and Robin, is it Muter as deputy treasurer of the Board of School Trustees for the period of January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2026. That is the resolution. Do we need a vote on that?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion from Reverend Gamlin. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor do so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes. Next is the appointment of the legislative liaison to the Indiana School Board Association. After speaking with Karen, she has handled those duties this year, and I asked her to continue that duty, and she's agreed to do so. So could I have a
Move to approve Karen Braglin.
motion and a second? Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That carries. Thank you, Karen. Next on the agenda is consideration of the minutes from, consent items, including the minutes, allowance of payments, and approved change orders. And that goes to Dr. Hoover.
Yes. Good evening, President Duckworth and members of the Board of School Trustees. We have 3 consent items for your consideration tonight. They are 4.01, consideration of the minutes from December 15th, 2025, executive session and regular board meeting. 4.02, consideration of the allowance of payments, invoices, net payroll, and payroll obligations for a total allowance of payments of $32,416,468. Approve change order number 1 for the Academy for Innovative Studies Roofing Project 2025. These consent items are presented for your approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent items. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor do so signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Consent items passes. Next on the agenda is consideration of personnel recommendations from Michelle Williams. Good evening.
Good evening, President Duckworth, members of the board, Dr. Hoover. Tonight's personnel recommendations include the following: retirements, resignations, termination, regular appointments, resignation from extra duty, appointments to extra duty, transfers, after-school appointments, and consideration of the administrative appointment of Andrew Lasher, head girls volleyball coach at North High School, and the following classified addendum, regular appointment. These recommendations are presented for your approval.
So move.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the personnel recommendations. All those in favor do so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Sorry, I should have asked for discussion. Is there any discussion first? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Personnel recommendations passes. Thank you. Next is our district spotlight from Dr. Hoover.
Yeah, so tonight we have Tammy Dexter, our Assistant Superintendent, and Andrea Campbell, our Chief Administrative Officer of our schools and our lead CAO. They are here to provide an update on the work happening to ready us for the new Indiana high school diploma.
Good evening, President Duckworth, members of the board, Dr. Hoover. Last year in January, right about this time, Dr. Hoover provided a pretty detailed presentation on the new Indiana diploma to the board. Tonight, Andrea and I are going to provide an update and some next steps as we continue to implement the changes that are needed for that. A few reminders. The new diploma is in effect for our current 9th grade students. Students in grades 10 through 12 are on the old diploma pathway, but may, when possible, opt into the new diploma. And so some of those big changes included up here, that meaning that personal finance, the computer science course, the addition of the PCC, and some changes in elective courses. When Dr. Hoover presented last year, there were some of these next steps that were for both the immediate and future, which was this fall, and then also ongoing as our 9th grade students matriculate. So this was kind of the next steps that we needed to do. And Andrea's going to highlight for you what's happening right now in schools.
Thank you, and good evening. So you'll notice we had several courses that obviously were added to the new diploma. And so we did begin our Preparing for College and Careers course in the 9th grade level this year, but we also pushed that down into our middle school level as well, because those students will too be on those same course progressions. When we looked to do that, we wanted to leverage that time for a variety of reasons, but one, because that really sets the stage for the exploration around the college and careers, as well as our innovative models. So hoping to inform our students and their families prior to enrollment in the high school level so they could start picking up time, which has been a lot of value this particular year. We also are looking for our 9th graders to take their computer science or the computing foundations for the digital age in their 10th grade year, and currently looking at personal finance at that senior year, similarly to how economics went with partnered with government. We're looking at doing personal finance that same way. And so course progression changes are not new for us in the high school and come for a variety of reasons. Obviously for this one with the new diploma, just trying to think of what's going to work out best. And I can foresee as we continue to move that some minor adjustments can be made each year.
Quick question on the computer science, computing foundations for the digital age. Are we embedding any AI into that curriculum at all now with that?
You know, at this point, that's a great question, something that I need to look into. At this round right now, we're looking at using a curriculum, code.org, and so I'm not exactly sure if that's fit in there, but it's something I can definitely explore.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. You'll notice, well, and if you remember from Program of Studies, we took many more courses this year through than we typically would, and it really is around trying to personalize and make sure that we're looking at our student interest, our teacher, obviously licensing, as well as just thinking about this new diploma and increasing in the pathway areas. What does industry demand look like? And so that's one of the reasons Program of Studies was larger this year than typical. Another area that we're working is with our innovative models and just ensuring that every student has the possibility to reach that most rigorous diploma, which right now is the Honors Seal Plus. So we're looking at some of those courses and what does that mean? And are there courses that we might need to sub out, or are there other things that we can do to help meet those requirements?
There is, I just quickly pulled
Yes.
up the competencies within that, the common standards. There is one, Chris, that's investigate the use of artificial intelligence by individuals and society.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. We're also looking, as we, go to the next one. Yes, that's good. As we embark on all of this, typically, you know, schools work with their parent nights and all the things. With these kinds of changes, the last iteration or current diploma for our 10th through 12th grade, when that came about with the buckets and the pathways, that was very new for us from how do you know, graduate from high school. So this even newer iteration is even bigger. And so as a team, our AP programmers, our counselors, along with our communication department, have come together to really collaborate to ensure we have clear and consistent messaging. I believe you've got one of the handouts maybe in front of, we've got some handouts for you, things that they're working on together to collaborate and just ensure that everyone is getting the same type of information, and that our parent nights and things are all as consistent as possible. Just ensuring again that information is consistent across the board, and they've really enjoyed working together. We've also updated our counseling lessons, both in the 8th grade and the 9th grade years, so that students can continue to explore what it looks like.
Something that can be added to the website as well?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Can that be added, any of that information be added to the
Yes, absolutely, yes.
So those are a lot of things that we have worked out. Currently, we're still working on assessing the capacity of our tracking systems and exploring expanded work-based learning opportunities. And that's going to be ongoing work. Part of that has to do with the state as they're working on data standards so that we can see if our student management system, Power School, can talk to their system as we track work-based learning and those kinds of things. It also has a ripple effect on our staffing as we think about, right now, counselors are balancing two different diplomas and tracking all of that, and so how do we help them with that burden? There is a shift in teacher certification that we're going to experience. We need computer science, we need the personal finance, and considering an increase in CTE and STEM kinds of licensure, and then also teachers who can offer dual credit. That's going to be a big piece of this. We anticipate the release of the new accountability model. The SBOE meets tomorrow. So it'll either, it's on the discussion, so I'm not sure if they'll take that through tomorrow, if it'll be the first one in February. But either way, that may also add some additional considerations to secondary programming depending on how schools can get points, students can earn points towards accountability. So that may have us looking again at some things we may need to push down to different grade levels. Yes, sir.
So in the work-based learning, how many hours is going to be required in that? And are they paid when they're doing that?
There's a variety of methods, and so I'll make sure that you get one of these handouts, and you can see, it depends on which particular seal they're looking to accomplish, and that can make a difference in those hours. I would say as well with accountability, there are opportunities in which we can document work hours that are beyond even the work-based learning opportunities.
I guess to ask, how well is it being accepted? I guess at this point, it would be how well is it being accepted by our teachers and those working in the schools? It's too early to ask for our students, correct?
I would say yes, I would say that's true. And to be honest, I think there's still a lot of, we know what we know. You know, and so we're going to continue to dig in and navigate together and continue to, I think as we continue through, more knowledge will come around and there'll be more experience. But right now it feels like it's very much in this PCC world and just still in the planning process.
Are we seeing that is this the final part of it, or are you going to run into every time you turn around they're making changes in it?
I think the change piece for us is going to be as kids matriculate up and we determine what are those new pathways, what are those new pieces. So we will be a little bit in charge of those changes because we're making those decisions. I think this first part is set. It's also going to be, once SBOE finalizes that last piece, that'll finalize some of the work-based learning pieces and we'll have some more information there. I think if we can stay thinking about the excitement of it, and we're really looking at what our kids are interested in and trying to pair that with the new pathways that we're adding in, along with, as Andrea said earlier, industry need and teacher certification. There's some excitement about the changes. It's also like anything else, you know, change is fun, you go first.
I'm just curious, and maybe somebody told me this, but like in the work-based learning, if they took, say, a college class, and there's a lot of these with simulators, that there's all this work that they can do. I know we've got a very robust cybersecurity program, and that they use that all the time in class. Would that be counted towards the work-based learning hours?
So there are hours that are probably more work-based learning per se, and then there's other hours that could be apprenticeship, internship, and so again, it depends on the program, but there are some hours out there that wouldn't necessarily have to be paid hours to also be able to receive credit.
Question about the personal finance, like 12th grade, is it begin 9th through to the 12th grade, or just is a 12th grade?
Yeah, it's just one credit. It'll be, and we're going to put it at the 12th grade year, opposite of government.
Yeah, because through the years, I've had a lot of parents ask about, you know, life skills. You know, can kids learn to budget, save, interview, resumes, and is any of those components like in that? Because I mean, it's a pathway to adulthood.
Yes.
So,
And I would say definitely in that personal finance class, when you think about the budgeting or anything to do with money, definitely found in that area. But then when you look at the PCC class, I think that's where you're starting much of that exploration and that conversation, even around like a resume, or what does this look like, interviews, things of that nature. And then also often too, in our pathways, in our pathway courses, those are things that are also discussed within.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, that's it for us tonight. Thank you very much.
Presentation. Appreciate it, and I'm sure there'll be more questions in the future that will
We'll be back.
follow your way. Next on the agenda is our action items. 7.01 is consideration to approve the agreement with Strategic Classroom Consulting.
Thank you.
Good evening again. The Office of Schools and Instructional Corps is recommending the approval of the agreement with Strategic Classroom Consulting, LLC, to provide some job-embedded SIOP implementation support through on-site coaching and virtual professional learning. SIOP is a research-based approach for effectively teaching multilingual learners across all content areas, and this professional development is designed to deepen the educator's understanding and application of the model. Over the second semester, the consultant is going to deliver 3 weeks of on-site services along with 6 one-hour virtual sessions tailored to each participating school's identified needs. And then services will include embedded coaching, observation and feedback, coaching of multilingual learner coaches, and leadership consultation focused on planning, monitoring, and sustaining SIOP implementation. Upon completion, teachers, the coaches, and building leaders were going to have a strengthened capacity to implement SIOP features with fidelity, supporting academic language development and content achievement for our MLL students. The total cost of these services is $54,900, and it's going to be funded through the title Multilingual Learning Funding. This item is presented for your approval at this time.
Move to approve. Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
7.02, consideration to award the contract for the Lodge Community School second floor renovation and HVAC upgrades project 2026. Mr. Scheller, good evening.
Good evening, President Duckworth, members of the board, and Dr. Hoover. The Lodge Community School second floor renovation and HVAC upgrade project 2026. Notice to bid was advertised on October 24th and October 31st, 2025. A pre-bid meeting was held on November 5th, and bids were received on November 13th, 2025. Our recommendation is to award the contract to ARC Construction for the base bid amount of $519,200.
So move.
A motion and a second. One question. It says it's covered under general obligation bond. This is not anything that qualified under the Toyota grant that we got?
It is not, no.
Okay, is that more geared toward classroom and those kinds of things? All right, any other questions?
When is this going to start?
After school's over. This would be a summertime project.
Will be completed by the end of summer?
Yes. Yep.
I have one thing, if everyone's, the last time we met, I said, that's a lot of money, man. That's called sticker shock. I wasn't apprehensive of what we were doing or anything about, there at the New Tech. I'm 100% for that project. I talked to David Smith probably 5 years ago, and because I was looking into what other areas had, and they had that. So I think it's a great thing. If it makes you feel any better, when I went to buy Christmas dinner at Walmart, it was $90, and I got sticker shock then. It's nothing new. I'm gonna have to get used to the price of living. I know how expensive these projects are. It's just hard when you take very seriously, and I do take very seriously, how much money that it costs the taxpayers. It's just like, gotta get over it, because that's just what it costs.
And this project is not only just a remodel of that area, it's also that upgrade is getting pneumatic controls that are in that building that you can't get parts for, that are just so antiquated, getting that all up to date.
So are you saying like the zone heating and is that the pneumatic parts that you're speaking of?
It is, yeah.
Those get stuck all the time and you'll be hot in one room or cold, yeah.
Fortunately, we had it actually come up today where we had a classroom that we had
Yeah.
issues with it, and it's a struggle to keep it going, so this will be a great thing.
So are these new mechanisms or are they repurposed, the old ones, or how's that?
All the pneumatics will come out, and it'll be all new controls that'll be controlled by our energy management system, and we'll be able to see it online and adjust it online. It'll be nice.
Thank you.
I can't imagine that the outdoor temperature of Evansville, Indiana would have anything to do with any of that, because one week it's 60 degrees and the next week it's 20. And I think it throws a lot of different systems out of whack, trying to filter through all that. But maybe this will be one of them. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is 7.03, consideration to approve the purchase of Apple iPads. Joe Hirding. Evening, Joe.
Good evening, President Duckworth, members of the board, Dr. Hoover. In our December 15, 2025 board meeting, you were presented with an informational item concerning the purchase of 1,000 Apple iPads to support K-1 classrooms. These devices will replace the current 8th generation iPads deployed during the 2021-2022 school year. Today, I would like to ask that you approve this purchase. Thank you.
We'll move.
A motion and a second. Any questions or comments?
I do have a question, President. Good evening and Happy New Year to you. The question that I have is, what are we going to do with the devices that we will be replacing?
Normally use an e-waste recycling firm. They'll sometimes give us a credit based on the quality of the device. Then we can use that credit to purchase adapters, new cases. Last year we purchased headphones for those new devices as well, using that credit. So it's not usually a lot of money, but it's a little bit, and every bit helps.
And I know a little bit goes a long way. Is that something that we could look into in the future of maybe if we don't do a credit? There's some not-for-profit organizations, that maybe we could gift or donate to, especially for children that might not have a luxury of having some type of tablet and or iPad at home, maybe the Y or Y&E or some other type of organization that they could do some extra learning or maybe just some playtime.
Definitely. Actually, I've been in talks with the e-waste company we've been using, and they do a community buyback program as well, where we can actually offer the used devices, if they're still in good working order enough, first to your employees at the schools, and then to the communities to purchase, and they manage all of that. That's not something we've typically done in the past, but we get lots of people asking if we can do that, and we've looked into it, and I think it's going to be a possibility.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you, Joe. Next on the agenda is consideration to approve the increase to extended daycare center summer camp fees. Kimmy Williams, good evening.
Good evening, President Duckworth and members of the board, and Dr. Hoover. Bring forward to you tonight the consideration, the recommendation for a rate increase for extended day summer camp. The extended day summer camp is an extension of the regular extended day, which serves students in kindergarten through 6th grade. This summer camp will run through June 1st to July 24th this year, and from 6:30 a.m. until 5:30 p.m. This summer camp fee has been $100 since 2020, and the extended day summer camp fees were recently reviewed and compared with other local summer camps. Data showed that the EVSC rate remains significantly lower than the comparable offerings. Based on this review, it's recommended that the summer camp fee be increased by $10 per week, bringing the total to $110 per week per attendee. In this cost, the camp will include, for our families and our students, it'll include a camp t-shirt, field trips to local organizations, arts and crafts, community partner workshops come into our schools, and enrichment activities focused on character, leadership development, physical fitness, and academic support, as well as student learning. breakfast and lunch, like we talked about last time, are certainly provided for each student through the summer food service program. I would be happy to answer any questions at this time if there are any.
I do have a question. Good evening to you and Happy New Year. Actually, I have two. So in looking at the comparison charts, and I don't know if you'd be able to tell me this, and I know, of course, the camps are not identified as far as the daycares are concerned, but could you tell me and I hope I'm wording this correctly, could you tell me with our extended day summer camp, the camp locations that you use to kind of as a reference point to see, hey, what are their prices? What are they offering? What were the close proximity from daycare A as opposed to Lodge School that will be a summer site? Does that question make sense?
It does. Now, this summer camp will be located at Dexter this year.
Okay, and I just use that as an example, so.
So we'll have over 250 students located at Dexter at our site. That's about where we draw the line at as far as capacity for us. And then some of the other sites are certainly located within our community. As you mentioned, we didn't mention them in the list in the comparison sheet, but I do know where those are at, and they're located throughout our community. We are trying to determine, work with Steve Scheller and others on locations that are available, one that aren't being, with different building things taking place during the summer. So we found a centrally located in Dexter being that central location for us this summer.
Okay, thank you. And the next question I have, so let me put my glasses back on.
Gotcha. Got mine in my pocket just in case.
So I know when we met last year, can you believe it? When we met last year, and of course I voiced my concern about $10, right? To some, $10 is not much. But again, I know we cannot control of the things of what we're seeing in the financial despair of everyone. I can't speak for everyone, but I know I can speak for my household, right? Of just some things are tough and tight. So how are we combating that? Could this be another issue where we're seeing next year or year after next or the year after next where though, again, $10 to parent A or family A could be, hey, my center point is getting cut off, or hey, it could be my water bill, or hey, I have an urgent care, so how often are we gonna come back to the table regarding increases? Again, I understand this literally is free compared to other daycares, right, that are charging maybe $250 to $300 a week, and I get it, but I know just for parents that are having a hard time, right, and finding that financial despair, how often are we going to have this conversation?
Yeah, like I said, the last time we were here was 2020, so that'd be 6 years.
And this is summer camp, I suppose.
Summer camp.
Okay.
And I understand that, yes, I understand.
Yes, and also we talked about the CCDF vouchers. So if families are on the voucher, we're fortunate in Indiana that the CCDF voucher program was not frozen. So if they do have the voucher, that they'll be able to apply that to our summer camp. So we're hopeful that we don't have to come back, often as we can, but we'll certainly always take those into consideration, work with families, and we're working with families on a day-to-day basis on what they need. If something comes up that's out of their control, we'll work with them moving forward. But so hopefully that we're not back anytime. Like I said, the last time we were here for the summer camp was 2020, so 6 years ago.
And one more question. What's the grace period in working with families?
Yeah, I think each one, take an individual based upon, case by case, understanding what's going on, working with those families, having a conversation. That goes to the relationship and trust that we have with our families and they have with us.
Absolutely.
And taking all those things into consideration.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
You've done an outstanding job keeping it down to that number. There's no way that what we're asking is covering without everybody busting their tails to make that price that low. You guys are doing an outstanding job.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Our staff, the extended day, and the director of extended day does a great job, and her staff, they do it for the students, right? That's what we're here for. That's right on set.
Good questions and comments, but we do need, go ahead.
I do have a quick question regarding, it's my understanding that the state says there is no money for summer food programs for school kids. That would be in place for for instance, Teacouple offers breakfast and lunch at a really great rate. Is that something that's going to impact EVSC or?
I'm aware of it this time.
Okay. Okay, and I may be,
Specifically about summer, or are you talking about the current schools that have free breakfast and free lunch?
that was my question. I wasn't sure. I just get confused by their language and what,
So one reason in consideration where we place this is at Dexter. So they're currently in a community eligibility program, which means all students, regardless if they're free or reduced lunch, but all students receive free lunch, regardless of your status and socioeconomic status. So that is one reason why we chose Dexter as well, because that is still in play. So all students, regardless of their status, will receive free breakfast and lunch.
okay, great.
And I'll make a motion, because I know that's what you're looking for. Have we found challenges in the last couple of years as far as finding the actual people to work these summer camps?
Our staff are chomping at the bit to work at these camps for multiple reasons. One, they love the students.
Yep.
It's fun. They get to meet those families from different places, and it provides them a source of income because our staff that work in these programs do not have that summer employment, and this is a great opportunity for them to have summer employment to do the things that they need to do with their family.
I appreciate that.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that we approve 7.04, consideration to approve the increase of extended day center summer camp fees.
Second.
we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That carries. Thank you. 7.05, consideration of a proposed site lease with Express ATM. Dr. Underwood, good evening.
Good evening, President Duckworth, members of the board, and Dr. Hoover. This item was brought to you as information last board meeting. Tonight, I'm asking for your approval to enter into a site lease with Express ATM for ATM machines to be installed at our high schools. The machines will be professionally wrapped in each high school logo, and the money generated from those fees will go back to those schools.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion?
I have a question, President Duckworth. Good evening to you and happy New Year to you. The question that I have is how often will the fees go back to said school? Monthly. Okay. Thank you.
There's also a program through, I think, Liberty, where if your debit card has a designation for a school, they get so many cents per activity. And I think that's done monthly too, isn't it?
I have to check on that for sure, but I do know we receive those funds.
It's all, that revenue, it all helps,
Dr. Underwood, you may have said this, is those funds that go back to the schools, is it at the discretion of the principal, or who? Is it just money they can use for whatever may be necessary, do we know, or?
It's money that can go directly, I believe we were going to send them to the athletic departments, and then it was to be used at their discretion. But it's definitely the school's discretion how those funds are used.
Okay.
Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. And 7.06, permission to advertise for additional appropriations for the Cultural Institution Fund.
I'm excited to bring this one. This is a continuation of the work that we did this past summer during the budget process. If you remember, we started a new cultural institutions fund as was granted through statute. We went through all of the processes there through the budget, through our 1782 notice, which is the notice from the Department of Local Government Finance that shares how much money is approved. We are going to receive a levy. Our first installment of the levy for this fund will be this summer, followed by a second installment the following December. So what I'm asking for now is permission to advertise for additional appropriation. It's not an ask for additional funds. We are already going to receive these funds. This is just the next step in the process to where when we receive this allocation, we can disperse those funds to the appropriate institutions.
So moved.
You say second. I'm sorry. Motion and a second. Any other discussions or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Next is, we're going to get into information items. We have Steve Scheller with consideration for the award of Bossy High School's second floor corridor floor, excuse me, you say, renovations project of 2026. Steve?
And once again, President Duckworth, members of the board, and Dr. Hoover, the Bosse High School second floor corridor flooring renovation project 2026. Notice to bid was advertised on November 14th and November 21st, 2025. A pre-bid meeting was held on November 25th. Bids were received on December 11th, 2025. The board has received a bid tabulation sheet for this project. I will recommend awarding this project to Brazier Floor Covering at the next scheduled school board meeting. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions or comments? Steve, you got the next two, and if I don't try to mix floor and corridor together, I think I can get through these next two. 8.02, consideration to award the contract for Central High School's track resurfacing project for 2026.
Central High School track resurfacing project for 2026. Notice to bid was advertised on October 17th and October 24th, 2025. A pre-bid meeting was held on October 28th. Bids were received on November 6th, 2025. The board has received a bid tabulation sheet for this project. I will recommend awarding this project to ARC Construction at the next scheduled school board meeting. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Hearing none, we'll move forward to item 8.03, consideration to award the contract for the Harrison High School turf project of 2026.
Harrison High School Stadium Turf Project 2026. Notice to bid was advertised on November 28th and on December 5th, 2025. A pre-bid meeting was held on December 8th. Bids were received on December 18th, 2025. The board has received a bid tabulation sheet for this project, and I will recommend awarding this project to ARC Construction at the next scheduled school board meeting. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions or comments? All right. Thank you very much, Steve.
All right, thank you.
And that will move us into continued business. Dr. Hoover and board members. Dr. Hoover.
Yeah, I'll start. First, I would like to formally thank the board for prioritizing professional development in our district calendar. January 5th was, I think that day is invaluable for staff and teachers. I had the opportunity to spend some time with our school secretaries, and they received some professional development, had time for questions and to provide feedback on safety protocols. And they are an essential member of the school safety team as the face of the school and the first person you encounter when you walk in the door. So I think that was important time for them to be together. I also, that afternoon, went to Stockwell, where we have a new principal in place, and found that principal in the kindergarten PLC. And in addition to looking over student data and preparing for the small groups that week, there was a brand new teacher that was starting on Tuesday, first day with students, and having the experienced teachers in there helping her get ready to receive students that next day was huge. I think about what that would have looked like for her if students had come on Monday and she hadn't had that time with those teachers to prepare. So at Harrison, thinking about what Tammy just asked for approval for, they used some of their time for teachers to train other teachers in SNIOP. They have a growing MLL population over there, and they're really leaning into that. The other teachers who had already been SIOP trained had specific training on some visual literacy tools. And so it's just such a nice day back and a day of learning for teachers, and to have that time to prepare, knowing students are coming on Tuesday. So thank you for that. And then finally, I want to personally thank you, Karen, for your leadership and your wisdom and your guidance. This is my first year, and having been able to attend professional development with you, we went out of town to a conference, and I saw firsthand your commitment to learning and for being a champion for our students. So I am grateful for you. Thank you for helping me navigate becoming a superintendent. Certainly very grateful for your leadership. Thank you so much. That's it for me.
Any comments or discussions from board members? Mr. Kiefer?
Yeah. Dr. Hoover, can you give us maybe a brief update on our safety and security audit, maybe what the next steps are?
Yeah. So we've signed the contract with that company, and they've created a Dropbox. We've been putting our procedures, protocols, policies in there, so they're reviewing that information as it's being placed in there. I also believe on the day of the next board meeting, there's a plan for that company to be present with you all virtually to have time for you to ask some safety questions of them about the process and what it's going to look like. And then the hope is that they will be on the ground here either the end of January, beginning of February to start their work.
Thank you.
Yes. I've had numerous conversations here recently with board members and members of the community about conflict of interest. It is a very serious thing. As I dug into what a conflict of interest was and is, I reviewed our policy, the EVSC school board policy, of what conflict of interest is. The bar on that policy is set so low, anyone can step across it. We're becoming under scrutiny by countless members of our community. We're being asked to declare our partisanship, for crying out loud. That's pitiful. I don't agree with what they are asking, but I see why they're asking it. They're crying for transparency. So, the next school board meeting, I will motion that a new conflict of interest policy be proposed. The purpose of this conflict of interest policy is to ensure that decisions made by the school board are based solely on the best interests of the school district and its students. This policy is intended to protect the integrity, transparency, and the public trust in the governing of the EVSC district by preventing personal, financial, or other interests from improperly influencing official actions. This motion and this policy will say something like this: when a conflict of interest exists, a board member shall, not should, shall recuse himself from discussion, deliberation, and voting on the matter. The board member shall not attempt to influence any decision informally or outside or inside a meeting. Board members shall not use their position for personal gain or the gain of a spouse, domestic partner, parent, child, sibling, or close associate. The consequences, there's going to be consequences. Consequences: failure to comply with conflict of interest policies shall result with removal from board committees and leadership roles. Conflict of interest applies to all members of the school board. The definition of conflict of interest is, but not limited to, a conflict of interest exists when a board member's personal, professional, financial, or family interests could reasonably be perceived to influence or appear to influence the member's judgment, decision-making actions. In their official capacity, conflict of interest may be actual, potential, or perceived. It's my intention to reserve Pat Shoulders' time, first available time, to make sure that this policy is properly worded and legal. Conflict of interest erodes the public interest, of the public perception of what we are and how we stand. We govern with transparency. Once a conflict of interest is exposed, past and future decisions are questioned. Taxpayers and voters may wonder. When a conflict of interest rules are broken, they will erode because people rely on rules and policies to ensure decisions are fair and impartial and made in the best interests of the EVSC. We've been required, like I said, to give a party affiliation. I think the members of the community I've been talking to really feel like there's a lot of conflict of interest on the board, unfortunately, and I have to agree with them. We need to clean up this policy. We talk about policies periodically. This one needs to be reviewed, rewritten, and it needs to be done by a board member. We need to police ourselves. That's it. Thank you.
Mr. Shoulders on, can he hear us? Hey, Pat?
Yes.
Or I like to see as I'm talking to, there you are. Are we currently following all of the proper policies by this board here in state statute? And did we just not, I think we signed the conflict of interest forms that we do every time at the beginning of the year, and if we have it, we state that on there. Is that correct?
Let me say this. I was alerted last week by the Indiana School Board Association lawyer that in fact a call from a local reporter had been made relative to the conflict of interest laws and policies, which gave me occasion to review those. And I will tell you that the governing statute, certainly in Indiana law, is Indiana Code 3544.1-1-4C1. That statute says that a public official can't be involved in a conflict of interest whereby they profit individually, but it specifically says that the public service or the public services, if the public services dependent receives compensation through salary for services provided as a public service, then that is not conflict of interest. So that is the only statutory guidance we have. So yes, if there's a claim here that statutorily, Indiana law-wise, is there a conflict if a board member has a relative, then that is exempted under the law. Second guidance, and the only other guidance, is in your own board policies. And you can review these they're published on our website, but that board policy is 1144.3, entitled Conflict of Interest. It says board members shall perform the official duties in a manner free from any possible criticism or prejudice or self-interest. To this end, A, every effort shall be made to avoid the possibility of a claim being made that an individual participated in reaching a decision on a matter in which there was either a direct or indirect financial interest of a substantial nature. So, in my view, that has to do with a board member voting on a contract in which the board member would benefit in a substantial way. Once again, there's no further definition. So legally, in my lane, I would resort to the Indiana law definition and suggest that relatives and spouses who are receiving a salary would be exempted. That's a long way of answering your question, is saying, in the current context, I think that certainly all of you are in compliance with Indiana law. Having said that, the board can adopt any kind of policy it wishes to govern its action short of Indiana law. So to the extent Trustee Hollingsworth is proposing a more, let's say, substantive definition of conflict of interest, more restrictive on board actions, as long as there's a second for any such motion and a majority vote, that could certainly become the board's new policy.
Thank you. And, since, I appreciate you putting this together, but I will say, I would ask that when you meet with Mr. Shoulders, that you also include our board president to meet with you.
That's fine.
Okay. If that's okay with you.
That's fine. I would just think that in the next meeting, if you're going to propose this, which is absolutely fine, that it be in an informational item.
Well, that was the purpose of, not to interrupt, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So that whatever the actual document looks like, we all have a chance to take a look, and our attorney takes a look, and it's all.
When I speak to Mr. Shoulders, I'll have him, I was gonna throw that in at the end, I'll have him, of course, a written copy so that everyone can understand it, and we can't say it got lost somehow in the files or something, or got deleted somehow. We'll make sure everyone gets it. This is there's verbiage in this that really makes me uncomfortable. The substantial part. Okay, so what was that again, Pat, about the substantial part? I should have wrote this down.
Your board policy 1144.3 says in which there is either a direct or an indirect financial interest of a substantial nature.
Yeah, so okay, where's the straw that breaks the camel back? That's my question. So, Trustee Kiefer, you have a wife who's a secretary. How long has she been a secretary?
3 years.
3 years. So when does it become when is it substantial, right? So, like, say it's, I don't know, $500 a year. You give them $500 a year raise. Then the next time you give them $500 a year. What becomes substantial? Where do we draw the line? I mean, shouldn't it be that we hold ourselves to a higher standard? Because I was accused of having a conflict of interest because I was an area council PTA president. Nobody gave me any money. So when it comes into your house, that is to me, that's serious. That's money. Money talks. You'll receive favors from that money, regardless of how much it is. And substantial, what's the definition of substantial? That's open for interpretation from everybody. And you can't say in 10 years, that's when it's going to be substantial, because you don't know.
Hey, Pat, I don't think I've ever voted that just my wife gets a raise, just so you know.
Well, no, but you voted on salary.
That's right, Pat. So by state statute, if we have contracts with the Teamsters or with the ET or whomever it may be, and I vote on an entire contract, that's acceptable by law, right? I can do that?
Of course.
As I said, the Indiana law expressly accepts from any conflict of interest voting on a contract wherein your dependent or a relative is receiving a salary for services rendered. Let's remember, this isn't just a contract. This is somebody being paid for the work they do. So, and secondly, staying in the legal lane here, in the year 2026, certainly, there is no requirement that your wife share one nickel under Indiana law with you in the household. So that's however you conduct your marriage. What she receives per paycheck for the services she rendered. So if she chooses to share it with you, that's her business.
Right.
So technically and legally, that is not a conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest, though.
But I wanted to,
Let me just do that a second for you. I started. Conflict of interest is always and maybe actual, potential, or perceived. So if the public perceives, which I would perceive, I can tell you this, if my wife gets a raise from anybody, I'm going to benefit from that raise. She's going to buy me lunch, or she's going to do something. I'm going to benefit from that. She lives in the same house, even though we do have separate bank accounts. We are that definition, and we're not talking about the law. We're talking about a higher law. We're talking about holding ourselves accountable. We are under the scrutiny of children and the community, and we should have a higher standard.
Pat, like when I signed the conflict of interest, I put on that form, my wife was the secretary at Lincoln Elementary School, or school, right, or with EVSC. Can I vote when we're voting on that contract, and I know I can now, but even in this potentially new one, my wife, when we're getting ready to vote, is secretary at Lincoln. I let everybody know. Is that a conflict? I'm making everybody aware of it. I'm not trying to hide anything.
Let me again say there's two different things here. What I hear Trustee Hollingsworth saying is separate and apart from the requirements of Indiana law. No one, I don't think, in the room right now is saying that your vote violated Indiana law. If I hear Trustee Hollingsworth correctly, He's saying the board, or he's going to advocate that the board adopt a stricter policy. And that stricter policy is to avoid the appearance of any conflict, defined as when you have a relative working for the corporation. That is not your current policy, and I think I'm hearing him say he believes it ought to be. Nothing you have done so far has violated either the current policy or Indiana law, if I'm answering your question.
Sure. And I will abide by any policy this board adopts.
And is it true or not true, Pat, that the board was sued at one time, or a board member was sued at one time because a family member was, I can't remember now, was.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Reverend Gamblin, you're the only one that might remember Dick Lithgow suing when Gerald Summers was president of the board and his wife was the principal of Lincoln Elementary. Dick Lithgow filed a lawsuit claiming that was a conflict of interest, and the court ruled against him.
But see, we're opening ourselves up with a lack of integrity. It would take nothing to say, I would like to recuse myself. It shows the public that we're capable of reaching a higher law and adhering to a higher law.
It's not a conflict.
What is it not a contract?
What you just said and explained by the attorney, it's not a conflict. If you disclose and the vote, then it's not a conflict.
If you gain money from.
It's not a conflict.
But here's the policy that I'm proposing.
Hey, so propose your policy.
I will.
Meet with Duckworth, Mr. Shoulders, and yourself, propose it, bring it to the board, and we'll vote on it. There you go, that's what.
Up with law and perception. What your perception and my perception and the public's perception is one thing, but this board, in the 26 years I've been on it, has followed law. I'm not turning a deaf ear to perception. I'll be willing to listen. My wife's been a secretary for 26 years in this corporation. I think we've all disclosed this when we were asked to. I don't think anybody's trying to hide anything, but I will say this. I think you have every right to make a recommendation as to changing a policy or whatever. This board has every right to look at it and make the decision on how they want to go further with it. And I'll be glad to meet with you and Mr. Shoulders, and we'll set that up and put it in next time as an information item and go for there.
May I ask that if we do that, that each board member have a copy of it far enough ahead that we can read through it, digest it, and understand
And that's
it?
what I said earlier. It'll go, I would like for it to be given in paper so that there can be no misunderstanding about something, well, it got deleted or I missed a page or something. It'd be.
And I think that's what I was like earlier going to ask. I mean, we're talking about uniform conflict of interest discourse statement versus you introducing a policy to add to board trustee or EVSC board trustee. So I'm just thinking there's two different, issues that we're talking about here.
Well, and as
What you're proposing.
Pat stated, he's saying I'm staying in my legal lane. Nobody's proposing that it's illegal or, I think.
I'm talking about policy versus a uniform conflict of interest that we sign and disclose every year versus something you're wanting to add as a policy.
Yes.
Not
Not necessarily, no.
interest of discourse.
No, that's two different things. Was it a law several years ago, Pat, that conflict of interest needed to be stated? Has that law changed? When did that law change? Was there not a law of conflict of interest a few years ago that a member had to accuse themselves? I think there is laws like that in other states, but I don't know.
I'm not aware of that. This statute was amended to make it very clear that it is not a conflict to vote or if a relative is performing services. So, but I'm not aware of it changing prior to that.
Well, we'll have the meeting take a look at it, and we'll have an information item, and everyone will get a copy and take a look at it. Ms. Moore?
I just want to say real quick, President Duckworth, again, Happy New Year to everyone. I just learned yesterday that my favorite librarian passed away. Though I know she was a huge advocate for EVSC, it was Miss Carolyn Outlaw. I do believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I am 53, and she was my very first librarian that I had interaction with that looked like me in the 70s. And so she was absolutely an amazing woman who truly raised foster children, poured into the community of kids. And I do believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that she was the first African-American librarian that Evansville had. And she passed away on January 1st. Though I know she was not a part of EVSC, she was a part of EVSC because of the kids and the love of reading, right? And so I just really wanted to verbally just pay my respects to her and her family. I know some of her children and family members work within the EVSC and have very close ties and connections. So God truly rest her soul and her family, and she was a true advocate for EVSC and learning and definitely reading. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, and it brings up something that I think we ought to look at. And from time to time, there are educators that pass that have a story, that have made an impact in this corporation. And I'd like for us, through our website, be able to recognize them, invite family members to send us information so we could have a page or whatever is needed to share about those folks. And I think that's something that we should do. Many of them, whether it's 10 years or 35 years, doesn't make any difference. They all had an impact on kids and everybody in this corporation. I think we ought to look at doing that.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any students in attendance this evening? Okay. And our artwork this evening is from Tompkins. We invite you to take a look at that. One last comment is that we were very, very fortunate to our due diligence of selecting a very capable leader, and I think it's important that we all work together to ensure that her tenure is a success, that we work as a team, as a family, to ensure that this is the best corporation for our employees, for our public, and for our students. And Melissa, you'll enjoy this. I'm going to quote this evening, as Aaron has done in the past, one of our former mayors, and it was Benjamin Bossy, and he said, when everybody boosts, everybody wins. And so with that, if there's no other business to come before the board, I have a motion for adjournment, please. And second?
Second.
This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, we have a finance meeting. Right now.
Back to work.
So, can we call this next meeting to order, please? Amy, can we do roll call for the Board of Finance meeting, please?
Yes, President Duckworth, we have a full board present.
Thank you. At this time, we will do election of officers. Can we have a motion, please?
I would move that we use the new president, your president, and did you say secretary, so Amy, to serve in those capacities.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes. Next is presentation of the annual report of investments from Dr. Underwood.
President Duckworth, members of the board, and Dr. Hoover. This Board of Finance meeting is set in statute that has to take place within the month of January, and at that meeting, you are to receive and approve the annual report of investments from 2025. And there should be an attachment showing the investments. As you know, this was a challenging year fiscally for us with the impact of some of the recent legislation, as well as property tax caps. If you remember, we had some health insurance challenges that we had to overcome as well. Happy to report that we did have a strong year of investments. we received. We had 1.8 million in investments. We utilized some withdrawals from that as well, but we started with 42.2 million and we ended with 42.2 million. So a strong year financially. Happy to answer any questions you might have about that report.
And as you normally do, you give us updates from time to time on how things are going in case we need to.
Absolutely.
Making changes.
Every month.
Any other comments or questions on the annual report of investments?
Dr. Underwood, I just want to say thank you very much again. I know last year, as you stated, was a very challenging year. So thank you very much for your due diligence and your patience. I can't speak for everyone, but for myself and my 522 questions every single time regarding that. So thank you. Thank you very much for what you do.
Thank you.
Okay, and last on this agenda is School Corporation Fiscal Indicator Report. Is that basically the same information you just provided to us, or is there additional?
It's a little bit different. This report is put out by the Distressed Unit Appeals Board. This organization shares this information with boards and makes it publicly available. If you remember, in the past several years, there have been some corporations within the state of Indiana that found themselves into financial trouble. They've put together a report of some of those things that might signal trouble financially. Those would be things like percentages of fund balances, ADM, student enrollment, some of those things that might trigger serious cash balances. As you can peruse through these, you can see that as a whole, our enrollment has been stable over the course of many years, as well as our fund balances as well, all through the decisions that you have made as a collective board. So I feel very confident in our financials moving forward, but this information is there for you to review.
Later rather than today. We were at the top. Anything else?
Sir.
Any other business to come before the board? Okay, at this time, I'm going to ask for a motion to